Nathan wasn't supposed to be home this early. A last-minute flight change had cut his business trip short, and now, standing at his own front door, he hesitated. Something felt off. The house was too quiet, yet the faint murmur of voices drifted from upstairs, his bedroom. His heartbeat quickened. Nathan stepped inside, setting his briefcase down with careful precision. The air carried a mix of cologne and something more intimate, something intrusive. A laugh, low, careless, sent a shiver up his spine. He recognized it instantly. Ethan, his stepson. Nathan moved with measured control, his body rigid with an unease he couldn't yet name. He ascended the stairs, his polished shoes landing soundlessly on the hardwood floor. At the threshold of his bedroom, he paused, inhaling sharply before pushing the door open. And then the world split in two. There, tangled in the sheets of his bed, lay Daniel, his husband of 6 years. And beside him, unashamed, unbothered, was Ethan. For a moment, no one moved. Nathan's breath hitched, but his face remained impassive. He took in the scene, the glistening sheen of sweat on their bodies, the way Daniel's hand still lingered on Ethan's arm. The air was thick with something unspoken, but the truth sat there, raw and undeniable. Ethan was the first to break the silence. "You're home early." His voice carried no remorse, just mild surprise, as if Nathan had caught him sneaking a drink from the liquor cabinet rather than defiling his marriage. Daniel, however, scrambled upright, pulling the sheet over his body as if it could hide his betrayal. "Nathan, this isn't." "Don't." Nathan's voice was quiet, but the weight behind it crushed the air in the room. He didn't need an explanation. There was nothing left to say. Daniel's face twisted into something between guilt and desperation. "I swear, it didn't mean anything." Nathan let out a soft, humorless chuckle. "Didn't mean anything?" His gaze flickered to Ethan, who met it without a hint of shame. "You're always away," Ethan said, stretching lazily as if this was just another afternoon. "Daniel and we connected." Connected. Nathan turned the word over in his mind, rolling it in his mouth like bitter wine. He had given Ethan everything, took him in when he was barely more than a reckless teenager, offered him security, love, a future. And now, the boy he raised as his own had connected with his husband? He exhaled slowly. The rage pressing against his ribs was suffocating, but he wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. No, his response had to be measured. Precise. So he simply nodded. Then, with eerie calm, he turned and walked away, leaving them in stunned silence. By the time Nathan reached the front door, his mind was already working. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, a crystal tumbler of whiskey untouched on the desk beside him. The betrayal pulsed through his veins like venom, but he refused to let it consume him. Anger was fleeting. Revenge, now that was something he could control. He unlocked his phone, fingers moving with calculated precision. A single search led him down a rabbit hole of truths he should have seen sooner. Hotel reservations, hidden bank transfers, late-night messages, archived but not deleted. The affair hadn't just happened. It had been unfolding for months. Nathan clenched his jaw. How many times had he left for business, kissing Daniel goodbye, while Ethan lurked in the shadows, waiting? How many times had he played the fool in his own home? By dawn, he had pieced it together. Ethan was no naive participant. He had orchestrated this. The reckless boy Nathan had taken in and molded into a man had been playing a long game, feeding off his generosity, and when that wasn't enough, taking what wasn't his. Nathan wasn't heartbroken. He was insulted. The scent of coffee drifted from the kitchen. The morning routine continued as if the previous night hadn't shattered everything. He found Daniel at the counter, shirt wrinkled, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. When their eyes met, Daniel flinched. "You didn't come to bed," he murmured. Nathan didn't respond. Instead, he reached for a cup, pouring himself coffee with the same precision he handled multi-million-dollar deals. He stirred slowly, watching Daniel squirm under the weight of his silence. "Nathan, it was a mistake." Daniel's voice wavered. I never meant to hurt you." Nathan took a slow sip. "Mistake." The word was almost laughable. A mistake was forgetting an anniversary, misplacing car keys. This was a carefully woven deception. How long? Nathan finally asked. Daniel hesitated. That was all the answer he needed. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Ethan strolled in, utterly unbothered, as if this was just another morning. He leaned against the counter, smirking. Morning. Nathan set his cup down, the soft clink against porcelain slicing through the tension. Ethan tilted his head, amused. You're awfully quiet. Nathan met his gaze, and for the first time, Ethan's smirk faltered. Good. I've been thinking, Nathan said, his tone casual, as if discussing the weather. About how to handle this. Daniel paled. Nathan, please. Nathan held up a hand. Dinner. Tonight. His voice was smooth, commanding. Just the three of us. Ethan's smirk returned. Oh, a farewell meal. Nathan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Something like that. And just like that, the pieces fell into place. Tonight, the game would change. And Nathan would make sure he was the one writing the rules. The restaurant choice was deliberate. An upscale venue, dimly lit with hushed conversations drifting between tables. Nathan had ensured a very specific guest list. Daniel's boss, key business partners, and a few influential figures who dictated social standing. Daniel and Ethan arrived together, oblivious to the noose tightening around them. Ethan, ever arrogant, lounged in his seat with an air of amusement, while Daniel wore the nervous expression of a man sensing a trap but unable to escape it. Nathan lifted his glass. To new beginnings. Daniel hesitated before clinking his glass against Nathan's. Ethan, however, grinned. Didn't think you were the type to handle things so maturely, he mused, swirling his drink. Guess you're full of surprises. Nathan's lips curved. You have no idea. As the meal unfolded, so did the plan. Nathan engaged in light conversation, ensuring Daniel and Ethan let their guard down. Then, at just the right moment, he tapped his phone screen. Across the restaurant, devices buzzed. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Daniel's boss stiffened, his face darkening as he scrolled through messages. Messages Nathan had sent moments ago. Explicit texts. Hotel receipts. Audio recordings of Ethan laughing about how easy it was to manipulate Daniel. Ethan's smirk faded as he noticed the shifting energy in the room. Daniel, already pale, turned an alarming shade of gray. What did you do? Daniel's voice was barely above a whisper. Nathan leaned back, savoring the moment. Oh, nothing. He gestured toward the room, where their secret now lived in the minds of everyone that mattered. Just even the playing field. Ethan grabbed his phone, eyes widening as he scrolled. You, his voice cracked. You had access to my messages? Nathan chuckled. Please. You used my Wi-Fi. Amateur mistake. Daniel's boss stood abruptly, throwing a disgusted glance at him. We'll discuss your future with the firm tomorrow, if you even have one. The final blow landed with precision. Ethan, always so composed, looked shaken. You think this ruins me? He forced a laugh, but it was thin, hollow. I don't need you. Nathan studied him for a long moment. You never did. He signaled the waiter. The bill's yours, by the way. Daniel flinched. Nathan, please. We can fix this. Nathan took one last sip of wine, relishing the weight of control shifting entirely in his favor. Then, with deliberate ease, he rose from his seat. No, Daniel. His gaze flickered to Ethan. You can fix him. And with that, he walked away, leaving them to face the wreckage of their own making. Outside, the night air was crisp. One more thing to do. Tomorrow, he'd make sure Ethan had nothing left. No home, no money, no safety net. The game wasn't over. Not yet. Nathan awoke the next morning to silence. No messages, no desperate calls. Just the eerie stillness of a life successfully unraveled. He sipped his coffee, scrolling through the fallout. Daniel had been fired. His reputation, once polished and enviable, was now stained with scandal. Ethan, predictably, had been cut off entirely. No more credit cards, no luxury apartment, just the cold reality of fending for himself. Nathan exhaled, satisfied. But it wasn't long before a knock shattered the morning calm. Opening the door, he found Ethan standing there, rain-soaked and hollow-eyed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something more fragile, something dangerously close to regret. Please, Ethan's voice cracked. I have nowhere else to go. Nathan studied him, emotionless. Not my problem. Ethan swallowed hard. I messed up. He hesitated, then whispered. But you meant something to me. Nathan laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. Spare me. Ethan's eyes shone with something unreadable, but Nathan didn't care. He stepped back, closing the door with a quiet finality. Some betrayals were unforgivable. An hour later, Daniel tried calling. Nathan let it ring. By afternoon, he was at a cafe across town, a place untouched by bitter memories. He sipped his espresso, glancing up as a familiar figure slid into the seat across from him. Liam. Younger than Daniel, but not reckless like Ethan. Steady, loyal. Someone who had always lingered on the edges of Nathan's life, waiting. Liam smiled. I heard about what happened. Nathan arched a brow. Oh, you handled it well. A pause. Better than I would have. Nathan smirked. I don't doubt that. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his chest lightened. Revenge had been necessary. Closure had been earned. But this? This was something new. And for the first time, Nathan was willing to see where it led.